have to watch the direction we're going in. And one of you guys is, or I say one of you guys, I hope one of you people in the room here or someone on the outside is going to find that niche, and then we'll all jump on that bandwagon. And that's going to be great. But in the meantime, you do need some functionality.
I guess one comment relative to the statement that Frank made here and this last statement. I agree. I don't think we should be trying to beat MS-DOS and the match with their own game. They clearly got the lead. But we can join in, and OSK has one advantage that the other two don't have, and that is multi-user, multitasking. And the OSK can bring to the computing game less expensive, multi-user, multitasking, as long as it isn't graphics intensive, than DOS or Mac could bring. So there's an opportunity here to have a great explosion of powerful, inexpensive, multi-user, multitasking capability using the OSK operating system in all kinds of machines. That's where we should concentrate. And in terms of bringing over software, OSK supports all the major languages. It also supports so many Unix conversion tools. And anything that runs in Unix or Xenix can be brought over to OSK very quickly.
Okay, the comments made there were excellent. There is a problem I think we all have to consider. If we take the resources of IMS, Frank Hogg, and Delmar Company, and combine them all together, we don't come anywhere near necessary the resources to do this. What we need there, and maybe everybody here can help in this, we need support from microware on that. For instance, in the Unix market, there was no reason for Unix to make the gains it made in the business market, and I was there. But boy, did I fight that one. And very honestly, I sell Unix systems because I get tired of getting my rear kicked in. What is OS9? If it's so good, why doesn't microware advertise it in our magazines and try to get us to use it? Write your letters to Ken Kaplan, raise hell with them. I don't know if it'll do any good, but if we sit back, nothing's going to happen. But that's where the direction has to come from.
And I'm making a suggestion. Don't write it to Ken Kaplan. Write it to you folks. And let you focus it, because it's the focus that will make the difference.
By the way, this is Dr. Eric Gibbs, who's involved with owns or whatever, Gibbs Laboratories Ultrascience, that does the PC68K4 and the Mac port that we're providing here at the show. If you'd like to talk more to Dr. Gibbs, please feel free to stop by the booth. And Matt, I can never pronounce your last name, Bizarre, is also at the booth. He's done most of the Mac port and involved with the PC. And if you want to see a real exciting implementation of OSK on a Macintosh, that's a good man to talk to.
Why should we be concerned about bus architecture for purposes of compatibility? Or into the industrial applications.
Why should you be or why shouldn't you be?
Either way.
That's true. There was a comment I made that bus.
Okay. If we talk about bus compatibility in the industrial area, the dominant bus is VME with multi-bus running a second. Or maybe it's the other way around. I'm not sure. Both sides claim to dominate. You're dealing with sky-high bus costs. You talk about VME. Right there is $1,000. I haven't specified the board. I just said VME. This costs you $1,000. You buy a good case and power supply for a VME system, you're up around $2,000. Notice I haven't plugged the board in yet. Now we'll get full board. We get a 68K board or a 6820 board or 6830 board from many of the better people, be it Motorola, Lizar, and some of the other people. You're talking roughly $3,000 right there. So you're up at $5,000 minimum with that bus structure. Okay, it's a real tight bus, tightly controlled. That's one of the reasons it's so expensive. We can't afford it. I don't know what the bus structure is on the NM1. I know the K bus does exist, although I don't know its detail. We could fall into the IBM XT bus. Not the best bus in the world, but it's a widely used bus.
Yeah, we'll like to respond to that too because we're also involved with the bus for the K bus. The architecture of the bus, actually the architecture of any of the hardware running OSK should have absolutely no effect on any software that's running on it. It would matter not. It's strictly a hardware question. The K-Bus was designed by the site that I conceived of about 4 years ago, and at that time there was no inexpensive bus-based machine for $68,000. There was VME bus, STV bus, Guestpack had a bus, half a dozen of these. They're all expensive buses, and there wasn't anything in the low-cost arena. So we came up with the idea of doing the low-cost K-Bus, which is a 16-bit card-edge connector bus. It's inexpensive to develop cards for. The card size, we have 2 different card sizes to go with it. It's not the ultimate bus, but it's affordable. And cards for it, well, we're selling the 68,000 card, I'm calling it the Tiger, for $129.95. A card with similar function on Guestpack is $400. Now, I have no idea what something like that would be on other buses, but $1,450. If the bus architecture is going to directly affect the cost of every individual card that's plugged into it. The fancier you make it, that means that each card that you plug in is going to have to support that bus and support all those capabilities of it, and the cost rises proportionally. Even if you change the connector, you put a connector on, it costs a couple of bucks more. If you have like a 16-slot bus, in the case that we have the largest K-Bus, that's $32 cost wholesale, which raises the cost retail almost $100, and then each card gets raised in cost. And you can, one thing in designing computers that I've learned over the years, you get these creeping features, where you say, well, geez, this only costs a quarter, let's throw this in. Before you know it, you spend a couple of bucks, and if you multiply the cost of building a card by 3 or 4, that's what the retail price is going to be. So when I'm looking at designing hardware, I look at not what the cost of the part is. In my head, I multiply it by 4 times. You say, okay, there's only a quarter. No, this is $1. That's what it's costing to add this to the board. And that, you can try to keep things in check that way. But going back again to the comments about the bus, it matters not as far as OS9 is concerned. Yes.
First, I'd like to make a comment on what Dr. Hughes said about not going against head-to-head or toe-to-toe or whatever against PCs and Macs. He had an excellent point, and I thoroughly agree, and I thoroughly agree. We're not going to be the next PC, we're not going to be the next Mac. We need to find the appropriate niches. Now, there are things that Lee mentioned earlier that are very important to us that we're pursuing with great vigor, and and they include a whole bunch of things that will be announceable later on, and do factor into certain things like compact interactive and ubiquitous computing. These are differentiating things that OS9 can do that Mac PCs can't do as well or at all. So our angle is, and I think Ed understands very well, we've got to find the niches. The niches that IMS is trying to go after are ones that have that are large niches, ones that won't get saturated quickly, so we can get a lot of units out there and get the installed user base as high as we can. So that's what I meant by competing with those guys. We're looking at numbers that are very, very large instead of competing for a very small part of a very small market. And the challenge, of course, is to do that cost effectively from a company standpoint, make sure it's something that you guys can also enjoy, which you'll be able to, believe me. Now, on the bus issue, the NM1 was designed for low-cost entry as much as possible. This is why you be able to get the NM1 Personal for $779, be able to plug in your CMA keyboard and go. If we included a full bus with several slots on it, it would add a little to the cost and then multiply by your purchase factor. And that gets it above what was called a price point that we felt very sensitive about. There will be an alternative bus to our system, and it's been designed, and I actually input in that, and we may actually do some alterations on that, but it's still the R&D process. And the goal is to respond to requests by the people who come up to say, and said, if I wanted to get this system and wanted to have bus expandability, here's what I'd like to see. So we are responding to that. We know it's important, and like I said, I'm reluctant to announce things until they're ready. So just know that we're very sensitive to that and we're moving forward rapidly on the bus side. Incidentally, one thing we also put in NM1 is that we try to put as much functionality in because of the lowest cost, so that people wouldn't need to upgrade necessarily till far down the road. Whether or not we made the right trade-offs on what to put on, what to leave for a bus later on, you guys determine based on your individual needs.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second for one other feature of this little event, which I mentioned at the beginning. I think that it would probably be instructive for all of us if each member of this panel could ask one question to each other member of the panel. We've got about 20 minutes, so I'm going to ask that you ask short questions and that you give short answers. And